Hey guys, this video, I promise, is not clickbait, even though the title might quite seem clickbait. It's definitely not. Halo Studios have just revealed the sequel to Halo Infinite's campaign, but there's a reason that I've put, but it's not what you think, or something like that in the title, because, well, it's not what you think, and it's going to be pretty polarizing, I think. I'm kind of mixed. Just FYI, this video, I didn't expect to be making a video today. This video is not going to be highly edited because of reasons that I'm sure you're aware. I'm just not in the mood for that right now, but I wanted to make a video about this because it's something interesting to talk about. It's something new, so let's talk about it. So, in a canon fodder that came out, like, I don't know, as of recording this about 25 minutes ago, Alex and Halo Studios have announced the next major Halo book, which is called Halo Edge of Dawn, written by Kelly Gay, of whose books I have thoroughly enjoyed. Every single one of them, dating back to, I forget the name of the first one, the one with Ryan Ford. Was it Smoke and Shadow? That one? Ace of Speed, Smoke and Shadow? Whichever, her first one, dating all the way back. Her books have been excellent. She's a really good writer, and I'm sure I'll enjoy the book. But there are some issues with not her book, but more so the setting of her book that we're going to get into. So it's this new book, Halo Edge of Dawn, is a Master Chief story. So it's the Master Chief story branded one that is obviously focused on Master Chief. And well, let me just read the description because the cool stuff and the problems emerge from the description. So 2516. After eliminating War Chief Escharum and sending the banished leadership into chaos, the Master Chief continues the fight on Zeta Halo, accompanied by his new AI companion and their loyal pilot Fernando Esparza. As Spartan 117 searches for scattered allied forces, a young combat medic, tortured and imprisoned for months by the banished and the enigmatic Harbinger, may hold the key to unlocking deeper mysteries within this ancient ring world. But every step towards answers is haunted by the sinister and elusive Blade Master, Jega Rdomnai, who is hellbent on vengeance. So, let's touch on the cool stuff first, because there's one detail in here that I'm exceedingly happy about, that I've been calling since December 2021, and that's the fact that, thank God, Jega Rdomnai, the badass, edgy, My Chemical Romance listening Blade Master elite, is actually alive. He didn't die, we didn't actually kill him in the boss fight. There's a reason that his body goes into camo when he dies and doesn't just lie there static. That was always such a weird standout detail to me, and myself and many others had hypothesized for a while that the reason that his body goes camo instead of just staying there like a lifeless dead body is because there was some kind of failsafe or some kind of dead man switch in his armor that camoed him upon like lethal damage or something like that to try and save him. And lo and behold, that's clearly what's happened because he is alive, which I'm very happy about. If his character had just been in Halo Infinite and that was it, it would have been a complete waste to me. So I'm really excited to see more about that and to see how he seeks revenge. Because, man, I still think that as edgy and in some ways cliche as his character design is, you know, an elite that goes against all the honor elements of his species and has a cybernetic arm and that kind of stuff, even though that stuff is, yeah, maybe a little bit cliche, I think it's awesome. I just think that character's so cool. I have a real soft spot for him, so the fact that he's back and isn't dead is great. But, although I have no fears as to the quality of this story, because Kelly Gay's stuff has been awesome from start to finish, I strongly believe that this story should have been campaign DLC. I mean, by the sounds of it, literally, the description literally says, the Master Chief continues the fight on Zeta Halo. And what is it that Chief says once you finish the campaign and you go back into the open world for the first time? He says, "We finished the fight." So that's obviously a reference to that and the fact that this story, I mean, you don't need references because they literally say that this story is basically continuing directly on from Infinite Story, which you guys know that I'm not a fan of, oh my god, God rays, holy shit. Yeah, I am not a fan of Halo's story being continued in books. I don't know, man, like what they did with the Rookie in New Blood, even though I really like New Blood, like it was like right up until the end, man. That just tying up any kind of main game story element in a book, I strongly disagree with. I want books, I want comics, I want novels, I want all this stuff, but it needs to be a game series first and foremost. Halo is a game series first and everything else second. And this is just another one of those nails in the coffin that feels like it's moving away from that again. So I thought for a while we were kind of moving back towards that, but now it feels like we've got what sounds like a perfectly good campaign DLC story being put into a book. And I mean, people have said that for a while. People said that about like Rubicon Protocol, for example, which was telling the story of Spot and I'm blanking on names, Kovac and a few others that you find in the open world. It told the story of them. And people were like, yeah, that could have been a DLC. And it could have been, but there was also elements of it that were limited to a book. And I'm sure there's stuff like this with this book, but this story, broadly speaking, sounds exactly like what campaign DLC should have been. So I don't know, although I'm intrigued to see where it goes, I'm extremely disheartened by the fact that this isn't going to be a playable thing in-game. It's going to be a book again, which I'm not a fan of. That medic they're on about, I'm pretty sure they're talking about Lucas Browning, who, if you remember, was the Marine medic who was captured by the Harbinger, who I believe actually was the one who the Harbinger recited the Gravemind to. And the description says that Lucas Browning may hold the key to unlocking deeper mysteries within this ancient ring world, which I hope to God actually means that some details or some information that the Harbinger gave to Lucas Browning, or some weird way that she, I don't know, rewrote his DNA or some shit, opens the story up to the actual history of Zeta Halo that we got in the Foreigner trilogy that we were all dying for in the game but didn't get any of. Of course, the Palaces of Pain, or the Palace of Pain, or the Flood research facilities that made that up, Mendicant Bias's core that's on there, all the stuff to do with the Primordial and his time capsule, and anything to do with the Flood. I really hope this leads into that, but I really hope that it doesn't tie it up. My biggest fear is them diving into all that stuff finally in a modern Zeta Halo story, but tying it all up before we get to it in the next game and making sure it's out of the way for the next game, because that would just suck so bad. They likened this book to First Strike, which of course was the book that kind of sort of bridged the gap between Halo 1 and Halo 2. Basically told the story of how Chief and Johnson and everyone got back to Earth from Alpha Halo. And of course, the main criticism is that you need to read Halo's books nowadays to understand the main stories. And I don't fully agree with that, because I don't think you do. I think they add a lot of context, but I don't think they do. And First Strike definitely didn't do that for Halo 2. Like, you did not need to read First Strike to play Halo 2. You can just make the logical assumption that, like, yeah, Chief's badass, he got back to Earth somehow, right? Like, you can make that assumption. And so I'm not really worried per se about this book being required reading for Halo 7. Like, I don't think that'll be the case. My worry with it is that it's a story that's going to be really, really cool that should have been playable, and that instead is going to be taken up by just being a totally inaccessible novel that is going to realistically end up being read by a tiny percentage of the overall population of people who play Halo's campaigns and are interested in them, and they'll just never know anything about it. Now, another interesting detail here that I think could go either way is that they say the Chief is accompanied by Fernando Esparza, but also by his new AI companion. Now, they didn't actually call her the weapon in that, because clearly they would have called her the weapon if they were just going to call her the weapon, but obviously Halo Infinite ended with Chief saying that she can choose her own name, and there are multiple ways that this can go. So I've seen some people saying that they're going to name her, like, Hope or something like that, which I think is really corny. I mean, that's just complete hearsay. I'm not saying they're actually doing that. It's just complete hearsay, but I really hope they don't go that route, because I think that name is really corny. I will say one thing that has, I think, aged a little bit poorly with Infinite's story for me over time has been the aggressive push of, like, yeah, hope and all this, like, we might be on the back foot, but we're human, we've got hope, and I just, you know, I find that kind of corny. What I'm really hoping they name her, and what I've been saying they should name her, actually, since before we even knew she was called the weapon, I think 2019 I first said this in a video, they need to call the weapon Joyous, right? Now, you're probably wondering why the hell would they call her Joyous, and I will say I've got a video coming out about this soon that's a whole dive into this story, but basically the backbone of Cortana's naming, and also going before Halo to Marathon, Durandal's naming, who was the main AI in Durandal, is an ancient French tale called the Song of Roland. Now, again, I've got a whole video coming out about this soon, so I'm not going to go into excessive detail about it here, but long story short is that Durandal, the main AI in Marathon, was named after one of the 3 main swords in the Song of Roland. He was named after the sword Durandal. Then Halo came along, and Cortana was named after the sword Cortana in the Song of Roland. And the third sword, the third remaining sword that is yet to be used whatsoever in Halo, is Joyous, and hopefully that's what they end up calling the weapon. For those of you who might be doubting that 343 even know about this story, let alone the fact that they'd actually reference it, they have referenced it quite a lot before, actually. So Roland, the story is called The Song of Roland, and the main AI on the Infinity, of course, is called Roland. So they absolutely know about it. They have referenced it before. In fact, I forget which book it was. It may have even been Kilo 5, maybe? There's one book that 343 released that directly, like, recited a passage from it, I remember. I'm pretty sure. Maybe that's just my memory. I don't know. My head is kind of all over the place at the moment. But either way, they know it exists, right? And so it was referenced heavily in Marathon. It's been referenced heavily indirectly in Halo. And so it would just make perfect sense for them to call her Joyous. And I really hope they do. I really, really hope they do. Yeah, going back to the First Strike thing, they also say that the book is much like First Strike, going to be dealing with the immediate fallout of the events that transpired in Halo 1 for First Strike, and obviously Infinite for this, dealing with some of the things that we learned whilst also embarking on a new adventure. And I do wonder if Edge of Dawn is going to lead us into Halo 7 in a very similar way to how First Strike did into Halo 2, in that it wasn't necessary reading, but it kind of teed us up for that game's story. I'm hoping that Halo 7 probably comes out not next year, but the year after. I would assume the very latest, 2027? So if this book coming out, when did they say it released, actually? Did they say when it released? They didn't say when it released. They just said more information coming later this year, I assume at Halo World Championship. So the book won't be coming out this year. First Strike came out in 2003, a year before Halo 2. What if Edge of Dawn comes out in 2026, a year before Halo 7? Just a crackpot theory, but it is what it is. Overall, I guess, should sum up my thoughts here. I'm intrigued to see where this story goes, but I'll be honest, this is I don't want this to be a slight towards Kelly Gay or anything, because I love her work, but I'm really disappointed that this is a book and not a campaign DLC, because people have made that argument for various books before, and it's been true to a degree, but I feel like when you're carrying on Chief's story directly after the last game, where we've been waiting for, oh God, almost 4 years now for a sequel, I just feel like that should have been something in game. I really do. Obviously, campaign DLC never happened for Infinite. My God, those God rays are crazy. Yeah, obviously it never happened, but I just wish that this had been translated into that, and I don't fully agree, even with the fact that campaign DLC is not happening, with turning it into a book, personally, because I feel like Halo's had way too much of that over the years. Halo needs far more game than anything else, and we just aren't getting that right now. Who knows though, maybe at the Xbox Game Showcase in a few days, or yeah, a few days, I guess, week or so, we'll see the Halo 1 remake. I think we will do, personally. I'd be very surprised if we didn't, or at the very least, we're going to see it this year. Maybe not then. Hope then, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, sorry about that very all over the place video. No editing, very little editing, all over the place thoughts. Not great, but yeah, I'm still not feeling too good. I'm definitely not in the mood to be making videos, let alone videos of my usual average quality, so apologies, but yeah, I'm gonna round it out there. Thank you all for all the kind messages, by the way, on Twitter and on the community post. I've read them all. I'm literally reading all of them, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm gonna round it out there. Thank you for watching. Oh, camera just started shaking. Whoops. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you when I see you soon, hopefully. See you in a bit.